Hello, my name is Amelia. I am the National Feast Program Manager at OzHarvest. Welcome to the Teacher Information Session where we'll go through some in-depth knowledge about our program that we deliver to schools across Australia. Before we get started, I'd like to pay our deepest respect to the traditional custodians of the land and pay our deep respect to elders past and present. As a national organisation, OzHarvest recognises the continuing connection to First Nations people and the connection they have to the lands across the country. Today I am coming to you from Gadigal land. So before we get started, I'd like to give you a little bit of background about OzHarvest and how we got started. So founded in 2024 by Ronnie Khan, who is now our visionary in residence, after noticing a huge volume of food going to waste from her events business. I guess we give this message to our students because we would like for them to understand that Ronnie started with an idea and they can also start with an idea in order to create change within their community or the broader context. As Ronnie did not set out to start a charity rather than to fix a problem with a simple solution. Now, OzHarvest is an organisation that is an international organisation, and we have provided more than 200 million meals to people in need across Australia. So really important in terms of that idea for students to take them through the feast program. So we're on a mission at OzHarvest to feed people in need, to stop food waste and protect our planet, championing the value of food and driving change at all levels. So our students and yourself may see the vans on the road collecting good food that may go to waste and delivering that to people in need. But we also have many different areas within OzHarvest where we are trying to champion this mission of nourishing our country. So that is through our free supermarkets that provide food to people in need with a take what you want, give what you can philosophy. And a lot of that food is good quality rescued food. And then also we have not only the Feast program as an education program, but also our Nourish program, which works with at-risk youths, and our Nest program, which works with vulnerable adults over a 10-week period to educate them about the importance of food and also food literacy skills, so to cook healthy, nutritious meals. We also have an advocacy arm within our organisation, and we want to drive change also in the level of government. So just to touch on that, food waste feeds climate change. It contributes to 10% of the global greenhouse gases. What we say is that if food waste was a country, it would be the third biggest greenhouse gas emitter after the US and China, and that it produces more greenhouse gases than the aviation sector. So the majority of food waste comes from the home. So really, by changing food waste behaviour in the home, we can really have a huge impact on what we can do as individuals to fight climate change. Education is crucial to change long-term behaviour, and we want to educate children about the value of food and not to waste it. And that is really a core of what the Feast program is about. So Feast itself. Feast stands for Food, Education and Sustainability Training. We started the program in 2018 as a primary program in Year 5 and 6, which focused on the STEM curriculum, as well as the PDHPE. And then we launched 2 years ago our high school program, focusing on Year 7 and 8 technology curriculum. We have seen amazing, uptake from schools across Australia as they see the impact of our program in that classroom environment. Students learn about the impact of food waste and how to plan and prepare and cook healthy, nutritious recipes. It's a teacher-led program, so it's teachers like you who are the champions that make this program happen, and thank you for being interested in learning more about our program today. The teacher-led program includes professional development training for teachers to confidently deliver the program. I'm going to go into more depth about what exactly Feast, provides, or what we provide in terms of resources in the following slides. But before we get started, I just really want to touch on what the need for Feast is. So firstly, it's educating the next generation. Education is key to help us reach Australia's target of halving food waste by 2030. Currently, we are not on track to meet this target. Promoting lasting change, Feast instills long-term behavioural shifts in schools and at home, fostering sustainable practices. We work with aligned universities such as Deakin to look at the nutrition behavioural changes around students' increase in fruit and vegetable consumption. But we also work with behavioural works to focus on the food waste behavioural change in the home and at school. And we also work with Sydney University looking at students' education and wellbeing. We've seen some really positive evaluation results with our aligned universities from the FEAST program. Also, FEAST is aiming to tackle childhood obesity. Nationally, 1 in 4 children are overweight or obese, and less than 5% of children are meeting their vegetable consumption intake. We also address food insecurity, as FEAST provides meals to students throughout the program as they cook with their classmates in a group setting. 1 in 5 Australian children have experienced food insecurity over the past 12 months. And then finally, inclusive learning, support and wellbeing. We hear some wonderful stories from our school about how FEAST has really engaged students, but also there is an uptake in students' attendance. And really that is addressing student wellbeing as well. So our objectives, as we touched on before, to improve food waste knowledge and behaviours, increase consumption of fruit and vegetables, improve food literacy, create and maintain an inclusive learning environment, but most importantly, what we would really like to do is support teachers to deliver curriculum-aligned resources that are, I guess, interactive, that are exciting for you and your students. Our impact, so as you can see, the dark dots around Australia where we have FEAST schools. So we have had 151,000, a little bit over, undertake our program, students, 1,519 schools enroll in our program. And our program, as I'll touch on in some additional slides, is a teach and repeat program. And then we have our teachers trained. All of our curriculum resources and our teacher training is free to schools across Australia. So I am going to skip these few videos. I will provide them in the notes as we send these slides and this information out, but also in the notes under this presentation, so you can access these within your own time. But really it captures not only the students' experience, but also our teachers' experiences with undertaking the FEAST program. And we're really proud to say that we have had fantastic feedback. Moving on, FEAST for primary schools. So let's touch on the primary school program first. So FEAST for primary schools is a 7 to 10 week STEM program for year 5 and 6. We say this is a guide as we want our FEAST program to be place-based approach and for teachers to adapt it to their needs. It includes all the essential tools to implement the program. It's flexible and can be adapted to your needs. So let's just take a step back to the tools. What we provide is a kitchen kit for schools that is enough equipment for a class of 30 students to cook anywhere. It could be in a classroom environment, it could be in a school hall or an outdoor kitchen. We also provide a set of 6 electric frying pans. This allows for hot cooking to take place in a classroom setting. We provide all of our teaching resources through a student and teacher portal, and I'll go into more detail about what those resources look like a little bit later. And then we also provide the online teacher training portal, which is a 3-hour accredited teacher training provider course. And then we also have food vouchers to support schools if they require. The program, and we stress this, is flexible and can be adapted to your needs. It is an inquiry-based and integrated approach to learning. So over the 7 to 10 weeks, students are given a challenge, and through that, they go through a process of, we call it solution fluency, defining their challenge, discovering some information to support them with their challenge, and then I guess they develop, and then they deliver, and then that debrief, or they dream as well. There's a few different steps in there, and that challenge is to produce a school cookbook to be shared with the community. But really, it's preparing them along that 10-week period to be able to produce that cookbook. And not a lot of our schools do produce the cookbook, and that's where the flexibility within what the school requires is needed. All schools have a coordinator which supports them along the process as well. We have state and territory coordinators for all states and territories across Australia. And our coordinators are teachers. So Feast for High Schools is a 7 to 10 week program for Year 7 and 8, addressing the Australian curriculum in design and technologies and food specialisation content. Both of our programs also address the state-specific curriculum outcomes as well. Through the design process, students are tasked with producing a creative fight food waste promo by looking at what the top food waste items are, and then they design their own use it up recipe and information card, again reflecting the curriculum outcomes throughout, and we provide assessment criteria for teachers to be able to assist them with delivering the program, as well as detailed lesson plans with links to external engaging content. And I'll go into detail a little bit later about that too. Our teaching and learning resources. So what we provide on our online portal, which we provide the link and the password to, is a unit of work that has assessment outcomes. It's how our program addresses the cross-curriculum priorities, such as sustainability and Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander histories and cultures. It also addresses in detail the state curriculum outcomes as well as the national one, and provides you with fact sheets and detailed information so you can feel confident as teachers delivering the program. Then we have detailed lesson plans. We have 10 lessons, and what we guide teachers to do is at least an hour to an hour and 45 minutes a week. This is also available in our dedicated teacher and student portal. We have student resources and teachers' answers. What we say is the teacher learns alongside the student, but we do provide guided answers for teachers as the students are given a resource booklet. We provide a practical cooking guide, which we, in that guide, provide alternatives for students who may have allergies or intolerances, risk assessments, and then we provide detailed shopping lists of what you would require for a group of 5 students up to a group of 30 students. And there's lots more in those booklets as well. We provide an inclusive learning guide, and this is to support teachers and students with diverse learning needs. And we've worked with Speech Pathology Australia and occupational therapists to be able to develop that learning guide. And then we provide hot and cold recipes, which I'll also provide in detail a little bit later, which are also picture-based recipes to support students. For teachers who would like to take a little bit further, we also provide some additional activities, and we call those optional learning experiences. And as I said, all these are available online, and our team of teachers work every year to make sure that these are updated with the most latest learning and teaching approaches. Our teacher training. So our teacher training is through our online teacher trainer provider, Alara. When a school enrolls, they are provided access to this teacher training course, and they are provided access indefinitely year after year, and they can enrol as many teachers as they'd like within their school. The teacher training runs for 3 hours at a maximum, and it includes videos and practical activities, quizzes, and really it provides you with the confidence to be able to deliver the FEAST program to your students. What we suggest is that teachers undertake the teacher training, and then our coordinators jump on a call to answer any questions you may have post-teacher training. We love this teacher training option for schools because it allows us to meet the most regional and remote schools as well as metro schools, such as some schools that we have. One of them is Thursday Island to Christmas Island. But it also, if a teacher was to leave a school, or if a teacher was to take up a different year group, then a teacher who replaces can then quickly undertake the teacher training and know where that other teacher is left off. The resources. So we have an external provider, Abacus, that provides our cooking equipment to schools. If your school is eligible through our criteria by registering interest, we can determine if your school is eligible. We have funding for low socioeconomic schools, regional remote schools, but then we also have partnerships with councils and different areas that allow us to provide the kitchen kit and the electric frying pans free of charge to schools, as well as food vouchers and apron sets. But really, this is one of the most important things, because food literacy, teaching kids to cook, should be available to all kids. And by enabling kids to cook in a classroom or a school hall or an outdoor classroom, they learn those crucial skills. We see a lot of kids don't know how to use graters and, even use how to cut a knife. And these kitchen kits provide them with those valuable skills. It's enough equipment for a class of 30 students to cook in a classroom setting, and as you can see in this picture, all the equipment can be easily packed away in these yellow containers for delivery year after year. So I would also like to touch on the fact with these kitchen kits that our knives are child safety knives, which means that it's very unlikely a child would cut themselves doing the feast program. We've made sure they are a little bit tricky to use. They're serrated knives, but it enables the kids and for yourself to have that peace of mind when undertaking the program. And why teach feast? I would just like to reiterate it's aligned to the curriculum. It allows you to tick off your curriculum boxes and it's ready to teach. We have been doing this program for over 8 years, and every year we update and improve our program with the feedback from our teachers, but also our community of experts that advise. It includes professional development, as I touched on, through our online teacher training. It develops cognitive and emotional competencies amongst our students. We provide a wide range of nutritious recipes, and I'll show you what those recipes look like in a few slides. It is an inclusive program. As I touched on, we have our inclusive guide, but we also address the cross-curriculum priority of sustainability. And it's also very important for us to address the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander histories and cultures cross-curriculum priority, and we provide some guides on how to do that from a place-based approach in our resources. We are creating future change makers. So what we get in terms of the feedback from all of our schools is that this program is really engaging for kids, not only through providing them with positive food choices and enabling them to create behavioural change in the home and in the school, but also makes them feel as though they are creating a difference when we come to the climate change and discussions of children's futures. It connects to the whole school, and also it connects to school plans and the competencies required. So I'm just going to jump back another 2 slides. But I think, from there, let's also touch on the practical considerations. So when preparing to deliver the feast program, the practical considerations we need to think about is the preparation and lesson time. So what we recommend is that our recipes have been tested to run for half an hour, but we also need to take into consideration cleaning up and packing up. The student skills, as I said, some of the students have never cooked before, but what we try to do is link the students into understanding that, this is something that they can bring home and that they can introduce in the home environment as well. The ingredients are for 5 to 30 students. We provide all of those resources, costings, but also to think about the environment of where you're cooking. I'm going to provide you with some slides as to what those environments look like in schools that we have delivered. So here is a school cooking in the school hall. You can see the tables on this side of the hall where they've got the electric frying pans and so on set up. And at the front, there's the teacher demonstration bench where the students can come and collect their ingredients. What is important to consider as well is that understanding that we provide instructional videos on how to use knives, how to measure, how to mix, and so on, but also instructional videos on preparing those recipes. What we recommend is students cook in groups of 4, and then they have either a parent or a volunteer or a caregiver or a teacher's aide coming in and supporting you as you are conducting that class. Here is an example. If you don't have a washing up area, where some schools have just used some tubs and they've just done a quick wash, but then the resources would be then taken to the teacher staff room to go through the dishwasher. Here is an example of our beautiful award-winning designed resources that are available on the teacher portal. The design folio. Here is the example as we take students through an inquiry-based learning process. Here is our high school program example where we set them their challenge. How can the power of individual choice create a future without food waste? There is the scenario and the design brief. This is similar to our primary school program, but here it's more about OzHarvest is searching for change makers, and we guide them through the scenario of developing a school family cookbook. For some people, it might be a huge leap for a child to develop a recipe, but some of the recipes we provide, for example, the first one, fruit skewers, what can happen is the kids can just adapt it a little bit to use the top wasted fruits and vegetables, make vegetable skewers. So use existing recipes that they cook in that classroom environment. I'm also going to show you one of the resources that we do in our high school setting, which we do at a lower level with the primary school setting, but why should we care about food waste? Really getting them to think about, write a sentence, why should we care about food waste as an issue? And what I love in the high school setting in year 7 and 8, if they choose to do food technology or hospitality into year 12, we're really setting that foundation knowledge for them not to waste their food in those practical settings, because we're educating them about this issue of food waste in the home, in the school environment, but also on an Australian and international level. Just even looking at that right-hand side, food waste costs the Australian economy $36.6 billion a year. And then we talk about the understanding, and we have some videos with that. You know, even if we were to put a lettuce into a bin, sending it to landfill, it can take up to 25 years to break down. Here are some examples of our recipes. All our recipes are picture-based. As you can see with that time setting, it's around 30 minutes. All of our recipes are low cost, under $2 per serve. And we have broken our recipes to serve 5 in the high school setting, but 2 in the primary school setting. And as you can see, we have our equipment and ingredients, and usually our equipment matches what is provided in the kitchen kit in the primary school setting. Here is another activity where we've gotten the students to look at the recipe, but then take it that next level, and our theory lessons reflect what they do in the practical lesson, and that is to take it the next way by adapting the recipe to include a variety of foods. Because what research shows, if students are to try different foods, they're more likely to eat them. So let's get them to experiment with trying different things. Just quickly touching on our evaluation and research, FEAST is an award-winning program addressing the sustainability goals and recognised by the Australian branch of the United Nations Global Compact as addressing those goals. And also we can see our achievements. What we see through our program with our evaluation partners is students understand the impact of food waste. They're more likely to eat imperfect food. They can follow a recipe, which is key for even into the rest of their lives. It's a life skill, and they're more likely to eat more fruits and vegetables. You can see 100% of our staff to date have indicated that FEAST met their student learning needs, and 91% of staff would recommend FEAST to other schools. What is next? What's the process? So the enrolment process for the FEAST program is free. What we ask you to do is go onto our website, and there is a link at the bottom of the screen. So the first step is to fill out the register interest form. Second step is the FEAST team assess whether your school qualifies for additional resources such as the kitchen kit, frying pans and food vouchers. Then we send you an enrolment form. Once you fill that out, you're on your journey to begin. You receive free access to our curriculum resources, teacher training, you become enrolled in the online course, and if eligible, then we also send you access to receive any additional resources such as those kitchen kits and frying pans. I'll also like to state that any school that enrolls in FEAST also receives unlimited user-up tapes for their classes. So that means at the end of the FEAST program, we have our behavioural change user-up tape, and you can order those tapes for kids in your class to then use. When you have received all your resources, you can start making a difference by delivering the FEAST program in your classroom, and you have a team of FEAST coordinators who work around the clock to support you with whatever you need. And then step 6 is to re-enroll. Each year you can re-enroll, receive more incentives, receive more, resources from our team. And we have many schools that are in their 5th year of delivery. So, as you can see, for more information, please visit our FEAST website, or you can contact us directly at feast@ozharvest.org. I have received a few questions from teachers prior to this session. One of them, what is the cost to run the FEAST program? So our curriculum resources and our teacher training is free. And as I said, if you're eligible, once you register interest, our coordinator will tell you if you're eligible for the kitchen kits, electric frying pans, food vouchers, apron packs, and use duct tape free of charge. What if developing a recipe is difficult for my students? So that one's a great one. And as I said, students cook recipes throughout the feast program. A really simple thing they can do is use our existing feast recipes and then adapt them to address the design brief or their task. So how can these recipes, such as fast fritters with peas, frozen peas and corn, be adapted to not waste food? And we've had a school that has a school garden where their warrigal greens and sweet potato were being wasted, so the students adapted their recipe to be able to take that into account as their task. What if I can't commit to 10-week delivery? Another great question. So Feast is flexible. It's a place-based approach. That is fine if you can't commit to the 10-week delivery. Really, it's you adapt it to your school's needs. And what if I require additional support? So in the practical session, you may require additional support. OzHarvest has volunteers, and in our teacher portal, we have a letter you can send home to parents and caregivers to support you in that practical environment. And there's newsletter content for that as well. But you can also contact the OzHarvest Feast team, and we can see if there are OzHarvest volunteers who have working with children's chefs to support you. Okay, thank you very much for joining me today. We look forward to hopefully having you join our feast program and join the large number of schools that are already creating student change makers across Australia. Thank you.